Oh, damn. Welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I am your other host, Leslie, and we're bringing you another week of horror.
Just another week of horror.
One.
Back with Leslie and Sam.
Woo!
And it seems a little bit like tradition at this point that we have to have at least one movie with a unnecessarily long title in each season. In season 1, it was A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. In season 2, it was There's Somebody Inside Your House.
And then
in this season, we got this movie, which was another...
What was it? What did we watch?
There's Something Wrong with the Children from 2023. Directed by Roxanne Benjamin. Written by T.J. Cimfel and David White. A family takes a weekend trip with longtime friends and their 2 young children, but they suspect something supernatural when the kids behave strangely after disappearing into the woods overnight. Creepy kids movie. We got a lot of those in this genre. It makes me think of The Omen, when we're talking about creepy kids, which we watch for this podcast as well.
Definitely the beginning gave me that.
Yeah. And so, it's kids are always creepy, and they were really playing on that in this. Creepy.
Yep.
Now, how successful that was, how successful they did it, and whether they did or did not land the plane.
I guess that's what we're going to talk about.
That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to find out.
This is what this whole podcast is about.
It really is.
Us talking about what the fuck we just watched.
That's very true. That's very true. What we literally just watched.
There's a lot, I want to say.
All right. Well, let's get to it then.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the can.
Well.
The filmmaking category. 80s vibe. It was giving me 80s vibes.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of 80s vibes. They were definitely playing on the, Stranger Things-esque, where it's like modern, looks very modern, but is also kind of in the 80s. But I don't think they were in the 80s. They had iPhones, so it was modern.
Yeah. They had the huge iPhone 15s, but I think in coloration we received those kind of like 80s colors, but more jewel toned, which makes it very much of this time period. Mm-hmm. And then also the music.
The music was a big part of this movie, actually. There was a lot of music in the beginning. We started off with this all green, slow motion, running around scene of the children of our title characters, to this music by The Gifted. I mean, I like the music. I did enjoy the 80s-esque synth wavy, synth pop music that we had going on throughout the film.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
But now I was receiving different messages in the first part.
Yes.
And that alone was enough for me to be like, okay, we're going to have a lot to say about this movie.
I don't know if in a good way or a bad way, but we're about to say
the green.
Well, to go to those colors that you're talking about, it was heavy green and heavy orange.
Mm-hmm. And blues. There's some royal blues. Mm-hmm. That reminds me of my sailing. Mm-hmm.
Green became a big part of the story as well. Mm-hmm. So they featured it obviously in the hole that we eventually get to, and also the bug zapper or whatever is super green, and then we see lightning up. It's really green too. I don't know why, but yeah. So they have these little moments of just putting green in there to kind of hint at what's to come.
But that green filter in the beginning, I still don't understand.
It's a choice. Green is something obviously that we see a lot in nature and stuff, but they featured it in such a way where it was so highlighted, and it made it feel very unnatural, alien-esque, very off-putting and unsettling. It's a very kind of otherworldly green that you don't see in nature even.
Yeah.
So it immediately sets that tone of there's something strange with it. But the tone that they also set at the beginning is very, I don't know, that like first slow motion scene kind of just like sets everything up as kind of like whimsical and like playful with children, and not what it becomes, which is, you know, obviously a horror movie. So I don't know. It was a choice. That first part was a choice.
Oh yeah.
Don't know if it was successful.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But
I did like the music.
Oh yeah.
I like
music
the music.
Great.
Yeah.
That script though, I want to
Dive into that.
some things about
their
choice of words, and I do like that you mentioned about the reversal of gender roles.
Yes.
Between, oh no, what are their names?
Ben and Margaret are
Ben and
the
Margaret.
two main characters.
Margot.
Ben is the one who's experiencing all these kind of unnatural, supernatural things, the creepiness with the kids. Margot is kind of, and the other friends too, Thomas and Ellie, are also kind of, shoving him off because, oh, you just saw something that you don't understand. It's typically what you see the men doing to the women in these horror movies. So yeah, it's a role reversal. It's kind of a switch up of the form that we know.
I saw them jump into that pit. I saw them just tip. I don't think that's them out there anymore.
You maybe saw something that you can't quite explain or process in some rational way just yet.
So I did actually appreciate that kind of changing. It just made it a little different.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, but then they added the element of he had a prescription to
Mood stabilizers.
Because
apparently
something happened.
Yeah, he freaked out and lost his job.
How you been feeling lately?
Are you serious right now?
I'm just asking.
Look, you've seen that. That is not this. This is not that.
You're right. That was smart because that then makes him an uncredible main character, because first of all, when he starts experiencing these weird things and then telling people, they're immediately like, well, do you take your pills? Like, they can shove him off because of that. And then us as the audience too are thinking, well, I mean, he does have mood stabilizers. Maybe this is just in his head.
Yeah. Are we just seeing what he's seeing? Or is this the truth? Like, it did make me question a little bit. So script writing in that sense was great. There was just some conversations that I just didn't like.
It was unnatural. I just felt like the actual dialogue was unnatural, and people don't talk like that.
Tomorrow. It's gin and tonic.
What is wrong with you? I just feel so real right now.
What do you mean?
Like, connected. That's the word. I feel connected.
Love. You were very high.
But also, if they were long-term friends, the chemistry was off.
Yeah.
It was just like,
it seemed a little stiff.
Yeah.
The acting seemed a little stiff. The writing was a little stiff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that one scene where it was just like all the exposition just dumped onto us.
I saw them jump into the pit, and then I saw your broken little bodies at the bottom of that fucking pit.
Ben, shut the fuck up! Shut up. Shut up.
What are we supposed to tie them in a tree to protect them from bears?
No, Ben, we wanted you to be responsible adults, but clearly we made a bad judgment call on you and your goddamn mental health.
Okay, Thomas, that's enough.
What, you say that you guys aren't kid people because your jet-setting life is so full, you're so focused on your career? Give me a fucking break, okay? You're not fooling anyone.
So then you can just pawn your creepy kids off on them, too, whenever you guys want to go have a foursome.
Ben.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. It was more of a 2.5-some, right?
Ben.
You think we don't tell each other everything? But your little manic episodes?
Ellie, shut up.
How you went off the deep end and lost another job?
That's when everyone's thing was revealed. And I wrote down, like, where do we go from here? Like, because it's like everything has been shown. Everyone's cards have been shown. So then else is the mystery that's going to happen in this movie? They relied on the kid stuff, but there was no, I don't know, I felt like they could have, like longtime friends probably wouldn't talk like that. And they could have like spread it out more to make it feel a little more natural that this information's coming to light rather than one scene where we're just getting everything laid out.
It just was, so formulated because the way they all four just were talking to each other. And then one of them reveals something and then that person walks away.
Yeah.
Then another thing gets revealed. The other person walks off. And then two. And then
then
it was just...
It ends with a slap, too.
You know, maybe it's not that Margaret doesn't want to have kids. Maybe she just doesn't want to have them with you.
I don't think it earned that. Like, it just felt like an unnatural thing for her to slap her about. I know it was like a diss, but like, I don't know. It just didn't, maybe it was because the whole scene, it just didn't felt like it built to that in a way.
But also, if you had an incident at work and your partner wants to talk to someone about it, they can. And so she was just relying on a friend. So the dissing of her, I don't know. It was too calculated. It was just like they wanted to add tension, but then like it really didn't quite do it successfully.
Yeah.
So there was a lot to the script that I'm just like,
yeah. Why'd we do that?
It looked pretty though.
Yeah, that was the thing. And I do actually want to mention that they were using a lot of interesting angles. There was a lot of cool shots that we saw actually that we mentioned while we were watching it. You know, they were doing a lot of cool camera movements and oblique shots and like the tracking in while zooming out. It gives that very crazy optical illusion. They were doing classic stuff like that I actually thought worked and thought were cool.
That scene in the bathroom was great.
Very cool.
Loved that. Made sense to me. She was a really great actress. And like
Margot.
Yeah, Margot. And it switches from like first her partner being I wouldn't say the main character because they all kind of like bounced around in the beginning.
That was another thing I wanted to mention, which is kind of part of the script too, is like at first I actually thought the parents were the main characters, and then suddenly it was the other couple was the main characters, and then it was Ben, the main character, and then I went back. It was to Margot after that. It kind of felt like at the beginning I was trying to get my bearings of who I was following.
Which I think that added to then us having different perspectives of the children and of him. And so it kept going back and forth of being like, okay, who's the actual bad guy? And then could it possibly be aliens?
Could it be aliens? What could it be?
The depths of hell, but like green.
Yeah.
So
green hell.
Green hell, yeah. Hades, I don't know. No, well, he's mostly blue.
Yeah, in at least Disney universe, he's blue for sure.
Well, no. The sea of
the river Styx.
Yeah. That's green. Maybe
that's green. That's
I
true.
don't know.
The green souls are green. Classically,
souls are green.
Souls are green. That's everyone knows that. So, yeah. So okay. Anything left in the can? I'm trying to think of.
No,
That's it.
this is, I think, as much as can say about
All
this
right.
movie.
So let's get to the meat. Let's get
Yeah,
to the meat. Let's see
let's
what
do
they're
it.
talking about. And honestly, it's all about kids.
It's all about being forced to have a family in the society and two people who were so okay with not having children and then one of them gets turned into wanting to have a family and the other person's like not ready.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of all encompassing like the experiences of like the mysteries of having kids, because we do have two different perspectives. We have the Margot and Ben who have decided, at least for now, that they don't want to have kids. They're just living together.
We're not kid people at the end of the day. We like to go out on a whim and travel and, all the stuff you and I used to do before
I had kids.
So their perspective is like, what if we have kids? What would that be like? What are the fears? What are the good things about having kids? So that's their perspective. And then we also have Thomas and Ellie who have kids.
Who have had kids.
And have had kids for a while and are experiencing the mysteries of actually raising children and thinking about, was this a good idea? Should we have had kids?
Is it hard? Sometimes, sure. But it's the best thing, man. Sometimes it feels like it's the only thing.
So I do like that we have two different perspectives of having kids. Because then the rest of the movie is like, the guy, Ben, who's one of the people who's unsure if he wants to have kids. It seems like is kind of leaning towards wanting kids, experiencing this creepiness of the children. I like that they picked his character because he's kind of on the fence about having kids, and now he's experiencing the horrors of children. I mean, we are kind of talking about like, experiencing marital problems and your response to that too, because both couples were dealing with their own batch of marital things. And
Yep.
they maybe weren't dealing with it in the right way.
Look, we had one, the parents who had just had a switcheroo
Little
with
wife swap.
and one of them wasn't having it, and then the other one did.
It really had it.
Did you guys actually?
Oh, we fucked. And it was great. Until I look over at Thomas and Katie, and they're just watching us sort of, I don't know, like half-heartedly canoodling.
But did you finish?
Off the fucking charts.
Okay, Kyle.
Yes.
Get a girl.
She got it.
And so I think the husband became a little jealous and was questioning the relationship, maybe, perhaps. And then the other one's like,
You want kids?
You kind of decided this for us.
See that? That there. I made the decision, not us.
They kind of established that she, Margot, didn't want to have kids. And then Ben was, I guess, just kind of on the fence about it. And she was like really like questioning whether he was holding that against her, I guess.
Yeah.
And feeling resentful that they weren't having kids because she said, oh, he's so great with kids, which I didn't see.
I was thinking maybe the kids could stay with us tonight.
So what? Yeah, sure. It should be fun.
You're resenting me for having kids because you're so good with kids. It seems like you want kids, but it didn't seem like he wanted kids.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there was just like this chemistry between the people that just like, I didn't understand
Yeah.
all that much.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the cook. 'Cause
Yeah,
I feel like
let's
that,
cook it
that
up.
kind of part goes into this
Yeah.
because when we're talking about, having kids, more so relationships, how do you deal with when your relationship is rocky, you know, I like that we're tackling these issues. But like we mentioned with the script, how they're dealing with these things feels very unnatural. And yeah, like there's no history between these people. It seems forced. The relationship seems forced. Like they don't seem like lifelong friends. And then even within their relationships,
it feels like they're like 2 years in to the relationship. But I don't know what that says about us. I don't know. Are we just
true? Yeah, but like
we're not scared to like go deep.
At least, we mentioned it during the movie. Thomas and Ellie, like their older child was
9,
at least
10.
She seemed like probably like 10. So they've at least been together for 10 years.
Yeah.
And these issues, we did say at one point while we were watching it, it feels like this is like a year, like 2 years into having children conversations. Like there's no way you've been brooding on these questions and feelings for this long.
I don't know. I feel like I cheated on him or something.
He'll get over it.
Like, he hasn't touched me since.
Are you crazy? I'm not going in there.
Come on. Are we being adventurous these days?
Seriously?
It just felt strange. Like, and you said it during the movie, you're like, these kids should be younger.
Yeah. Like 5 or 6. Because then that way it just like makes logical sense as to where we are emotionally. All I just kept saying is, it looks pretty. And they're doing really cool things with the camera.
Yeah, they are. They really did get that. And I can't tell if it's like, maybe it's a little combination of both. I think it was, a weak script combined with
Are we being too mean?
weak acting. I don't know. Are we being mean? I don't think so. I think we're being okay. You see it and let us know if we're being mean.
No, please see it, please, because it was really interesting. I still enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I had a good time watching it.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah. So cook.
We cooked it up.
Actually, another positive I will say about the cook is the music, because the music was driving a lot of the action that was going on in the movie and a lot of the emotion, and they were using it pretty well. It was good music. It was very synthy, 80s vibes. And so I like their use of the music to drive the story. The one time it didn't work, though, was like she turned around in that one moment. And it was like, boom. It was a little too...
So some of those kind of like sounds remind me of Insidious, because Insidious is another movie that uses music heavily to drive the story. There were times in which it was just a little too like, and I was just like, do we need this right now?
I don't know.
It sounded like a party,
It did sound like a party.
I can't imagine.
But it was fun. So there were elements. I just want to grab everything and just kind of, talk about it in its category, because there were some elements that worked and others didn't. But they're two major things that then make a good movie.
And we've talked about this before, where sometimes you can have all like the great elements that go into making a movie, and it just either doesn't work or it works great. There's that like unknown factor in making films that like either will make the project be something great or just make it feel flat. So sometimes making movies is just luck. You know, you hit on that certain thing, and we can see them going for a lot of really interesting things for sure. But then overall, when it comes together, it's just like nothing too special. It is maybe objectively a decent movie, but it just feels a little not too special. I don't know how to put it. I agree. It's hard to put into words because it has things going for it, but it doesn't land the plane, I don't think. Because I do think that, like I mentioned before, and I think this does go in The Cook, is after that scene where they dump all this exposition, the movie then switches to us figuring out what's going on with the kids. And so it almost felt like two separate movies, where the first part was like the had a climax, and the climax was that scene. And then the second part also had a climax too. It felt like they just kind of stuck them next to each other. It kind of just felt off a little bit. And I really wish that they would have stretched out the information reveals, like that exposition scene, into just the rest of the film. They didn't need to have that massive dump right in the middle of the movie. They could have sparsed it out and made us learn more about what the kids are alongside learning more about what these people's past is. It just feels a little like, bumpy.
It's like, oh God.
The ride, that's what we're saying. Like, there's good elements that's happening throughout the film, but I think because they have how they've structured the story, it just feels a little like stop and go, and it throws you off a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just where we're struggling with it, But let's get to the thrill.
Did you say bug?
Did you see bug? Because that's what we're apparently dealing with at the beginning. They're playing on the classic creepy kids tropes where they're just like staring in corners, being like the smiles, appearing out of nowhere, like what the fuck?
Speaking in Spanish.
El lugar que brilla.
The place that shines. What do you mean, bud? What are you talking about?
Scary.
So spooky. Damn.
And going off to the hole and jumping in.
Being also like the connection between the siblings was very much like this concept of like The Shining, where you have the twins kind of concept, because they can speak telepathically or whatever.
Walk this morning.
I did like that element too of the secret language, because that is very a kid-like thing, but in reality they were probably speaking bug talk to each other.
Yeah, that was really funny.
That was cool. And then we get the reveal that they are big bugs, and they use those silhouettes to reveal that to us and have them, the silhouette morphs back into the kids too, which I thought were really cool. Like those moments were simple filmmaking techniques, but effective. And the sounds too.
The sounds was great.
Started to come in, and we were like, what is that? And then we're like, wait, is that aliens still?
Aliens.
But then we realized it's big old bugs, and it definitely read as that.
I fucking laughed. I was like, they're bugs.
I wanted it to be aliens pretty bad. I'm gonna be honest.
Me too.
I really wanted aliens.
We saw. Okay, that's another thing. There was just so many elements that were so different, which is like cool, because then we're not getting the same kind of imagery over and over and over again. We're receiving something different, but flashing of the eyes doesn't translate to bugs.
Not at all.
And they looked like actual bugs, not alien-esque or anything like that. So then I guess we should have talked about this in The Cook. I'm just gonna go back there for a little bit. The costuming. She's wearing a red, fluffy like with horn hood. That reads to me demon, not aliens or bugs.
Yes. That's what I thought we were going to go to.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be demon kids. Like, I thought it was going to be possession, and then it changes into the bugs, which is cool. I like that switch. But then there was really no explanation of
But then it was
actually what
supernatural,
is going on. Like, why are they feeding the hole? Like,
Maybe I just
what
love
is the hole?
what's in the hole.
The bright hole. I don't. And maybe it would have been unnatural for them to explain it, but there was no explanation or an attempt, really.
I love the hood, but if we were going to never show that they were bugs, like in an actual like image, then get their costuming to have coloration or that fluorescent kind of shiny, metallic-y. I don't know. Do
It should have
something
been-
else than like that hoodie.
Yeah, it should have been like a green hoodie or something more bug-like, either to like hint at it. I mean, it didn't have to be like that
It
on the
didn't have
nose.
to be on the nose, but
You're right. The red with the horns immediately is making us think demons. Which, do you think that was intentional? Do you think they were trying to throw us off?
that's the thing. I don't know.
It's not clear enough.
I don't know. Cause like we were receiving so many mixed messages from the get-go. We started off with the fucking green filter.
Don't forget,
Do
y'all.
not forget.
We start with that. So we're immediately thrown off. So yeah,
and
you're
then
right.
the rest of the movie looks beautiful. I just don't understand what we're receiving.
Yeah. yes.
Sorry, I'm so
It's a mixed bag.
frustrated.
It's a big mixed bag. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, setting aside all the, story issues with it, what they did do with the bugs and what they showed and what they didn't show, I actually thought was very smart because they didn't use any CGI. I don't think there was any CGI in this movie. And if they had shown big bugs, they probably would have had to do that.
Big bugs.
So I at least appreciated that they had that restraint to
Yes.
not go all the way there, because now we make that up in our head.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to the ride.
Let's do it.
Let's get to the ride. I mean, I kind of already described it a little bit. It was a little bit rocky, a little bit whiplash that we had going on, which is unfortunate because we've said it already, but they did have a lot of things going for it. And I do appreciate a lot of the things that they were trying. And, they really did nail, I think, that 80s vibe through the colors and through the music. So it's just unfortunate that we had kind of a story that was a little all over the place.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess I was entertained, though.
I definitely was. I mean, it was entertaining because I saw elements of other movies. So whether they were doing it on purpose or not, its filmmaking was great, and that was very enjoyable.
Yes.
So,
There's something wrong with the children.
God damn it, there was.
Did you think that the title had to be that long? That's just kind of annoyingly long.
No babies. I don't know.
No baby. No bebe.
No bebes.
No bebes. All right, let's get to the Smash Pumpkins.
Yep, let's do it.
Smash them up. This is going to be interesting. See what we got. Do you have a number? Do you need to process more? Should we take 24 hours and come back?
Like a fucking court case.
You need to take a whole day.
Yeah, I think I have a number.
Okay.
But I went first last time. You go
Okay.
first.
Cool. I'll go first. I think I'm going to give this movie a 3.
That's exactly what I was going to give it.
Yes. It feels fair because
That sounds so fake. No, it's true though.
I've had that experience many times, and it is genuine. I swear I don't copy you. It just happens that we
I'm
give
not
the same
copying you.
one.
So
But yes, I think that with almost every category, we find positives. Like in the filmmaking and in what they're trying to say and how they're trying to say it, and the reveal of what the monster actually is. We find positives in all those things. And on the other side, though, we find negatives in every single one. So at least my thinking was to give it like a half point for each one of these, but an extra half point because I did feel like at least they were trying different things, and they really did nail the style.
Yeah, I think, like we've talked about, that sometimes for directors takes a while. And good on them for trying different things and then landing on something. Or your favorite director.
My favorite director.
The Midsummer.
Oh God, why can't I? Ari Aster. There it is.
Mr. Aster. He fucking nailed it. Fucking great.
Figured it out right away.
But, I can see these people doing another movie and it being better. And then better and better and better. Because they already have some shots that I would love to see again.
Yes.
So
I agree. I think they just need to keep making movies. You know, like whoever directed and wrote, tip my hat to them, because they really had have a lot of success in this movie. And the potential is there. The potential is for sure there. So definitely going to keep an eye out for these people's names.
Absolutely.
Roxanne Benjamin was the director. And then TJ Cimfel and David White.
I definitely want to do some more research on them. That would be fun.
Yeah. See what else they got. See what they got coming. I mean, this just came out last year, so they got hopefully some more filmmaking to do.
Damn.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's something wrong with the children.
Yeah, they
2023.
They were crazy.
Let's see what we got next week.
Woohoo.
Did you pick last time or did I? I can't remember. I think you picked it.
I think it was me. I get to guess.
I get to guess.
And also, I just want to say, you can edit this if you don't want it on here, but we shot this in Valentine's Day.
True. Well, this is Valentine's Day.
What a fucking movie to have on Valentine's.
Happy Bugs-entine's Day.
Oh, I love bugs.
Did you like big 6 foot tall bugs that turn into children?
Maybe.
Creepy.
No.
All right. Very small one. A skinny one.
Oh, it's
Here we go.
skinny.
After a mad genius inventor of killer robots and cyborgs at Chank Enamorments Corporation kills execs, he unleashes his ultimate death machine on the new cute CEO firing him.
iRobot?
From 1994. Death Machine.
Death Machine.
Death Machine.
A robot movie.
Killer robot movie.
We're getting out of the supernatural sci-fi. Well, no, this is still sci-fi. But
I guess
it's
this is somewhat
not
sci-fi.
just like...
After a mad genius inventor of killer robots and cyborgs at Shank Armaments Corporation kills executives. That's such a...
Wordy. It's wordy.
He unleashes his ultimate death machine on the new the cute CEO firing him.
Cute?
Cute CEO.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll see if she's cute. I'll let you know. We'll be the judge of that.
We'll be talking about that in the meat.
All right. Cool. Death Machine.
All right.
We'll see you next week for lunch.
Yeah.
We also have a number.
We do.
If you miss us and you want to talk to us before next week, you can call 773-669-6677.
You know where to go.
You know where to go. You know who to call. Ghostbusters. Bustin'.
Damn.
Yeah.
What an episode that was. I was laughing so hard. I fell asleep too.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can go to Instagram and follow me under Color Me Leslie.
And me at BeepBeepRichieT. And us at the Deadlights Pod.
The Deadlights.
But
until
let's get out of here. let's leave. I just like
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's go.
I gotta go.
There's something wrong with me.
There's something wrong with me. But until next time.
Yeah.
Let's get spooky. Big bugs. A lot of squelching.